The Pirate's Treasure. Long ago, in a small coastal village, there was a young boy named Jack. Jack loved the sea. He would spend hours sitting by the shore, watching the waves crash against the rocks. His father was a fisherman, and Jack dreamed of sailing the seas like his father did. But Jack didn't just want to catch fish. He wanted adventure. He wanted to find treasure. One day, while exploring the old market in the village, Jack found something unusual. It was an old, dusty book, lying in a pile of things for sale. The cover was worn, and the pages were yellowed with age. Curious, Jack opened the book. Inside, he found a map. It was not just any map, it was a treasure map. At the top, in big letters, it said, "The Pirate's Treasure." Jack's heart raced. He had heard stories about pirates and their hidden gold, but he never thought he would find a real treasure map. Jack took the book home and showed it to his best friend, Emily. Emily was a smart and brave girl. She loved adventures just as much as Jack. When she saw the map, her eyes grew wide with excitement. "Jack," she whispered, "this is it. This is our chance to find the pirate's treasure." The next day, Jack and Emily went to see Captain Blackbeard, the oldest sailor in the village. Captain Blackbeard had a big gray beard and eyes that had seen many storms at sea. He knew many stories about the ocean and pirates. When Jack and Emily showed him the map, Captain Blackbeard studied it carefully. Then he nodded slowly. "This map," he said in a deep, gravelly voice, "is the map of Captain Redbeard, the most feared pirate of all time. He was known for hiding his treasure on a secret island. Many have searched for it, but no one has ever found it." Jack and Emily felt a chill run down their spines. They were excited, but also a little scared. "Do you think we can find it?" Emily asked. Captain Blackbeard smiled. "With courage and a bit of luck, perhaps you can," he said. "But remember, the sea is not kind to those who seek gold. You must be brave and clever." Jack and Emily thanked Captain Blackbeard and ran home to prepare for their journey. They knew they needed a ship, so they asked Jack's father for help. Jack's father agreed to let them use his small fishing boat. It wasn't big, but it was strong and could sail far. The night before they left, Jack couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the map and the treasure. He imagined what they might find chests full of gold coins, sparkling jewels, and ancient artifacts. But he also knew that the journey would not be easy. There would be storms, wild seas, and maybe even other pirates. The next morning, Jack and Emily packed their things. They took food, water, ropes, and everything they thought they might need. They also took the old book with the map inside. Jack's father helped them load the boat. Before they left, he hugged Jack tightly. "Be careful, my son," he said. "The sea is beautiful, but dangerous. Keep your eyes open and your wits about you." With that, Jack and Emily set sail. As the boat moved away from the shore, Jack looked back at the village. He felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was the beginning of their great adventure. The sky was clear, and the wind was in their favor. They sailed for hours, following the map's directions. But soon the weather began to change. Dark clouds gathered, and the wind picked up. The waves grew bigger and started crashing against the boat. Emily held the map tightly, trying to keep it from getting wet. Jack steered the boat with all his strength, fighting the storm. "We have to find shelter," Jack shouted over the howling wind. "There's an island ahead," Emily pointed. In the distance, through the rain and mist, they saw the outline of a small island. They didn't know if it was the right island, but they had no choice. They sailed toward it, hoping to find safety. The storm was fierce, but Jack and Emily were brave. They managed to reach the island and pull the boat onto the shore. Soaking wet and cold, they looked around. The island was covered in thick jungle, with tall trees and strange sounds coming from within. "Do you think this is the treasure island?" Jack asked. Emily looked at the map. "I'm not sure," she said, "but we can't go back now. We have to explore and find out." With the storm still raging above, Jack and Emily decided to find shelter. They walked into the jungle, searching for a place to stay until the storm passed. As they moved through the trees, they felt like they were being watched. Shadows moved around them, and the sounds of the jungle grew louder. "Stay close," Jack whispered. "We don't know what's out there." Finally, they found a small cave. It was dry inside, and they decided to rest there for the night. As they sat in the cave, listening to the rain outside, they felt a mix of fear and excitement. They had survived the storm and reached an island. But was it the right island? And what dangers lay ahead? Jack looked at Emily. "Tomorrow, we start searching for the treasure," he said. "No matter what happens, we have to find it." Emily nodded. "Yes, we will find it," she agreed. Together, as they drifted off to sleep, dreams of pirates, hidden gold, and mysterious islands filled their minds. They had no idea what awaited them, but they were ready for the adventure of a lifetime. The pirate's treasure. Morning came with the first rays of sunlight filtering through the trees, waking Jack and Emily from their uneasy sleep. The storm had passed, leaving the island quiet, but filled with a sense of mystery. They were hungry and tired, but the excitement of finding the treasure pushed them forward. Today was the day they would begin their search. Jack and Emily stepped out of the cave and looked around. The island was larger than they had thought. Tall trees covered most of it, and they could hear the distant sound of waves crashing against the rocks on the other side. Jack pulled out the old book and opened it to the map. According to the map, Jack said, pointing to a spot marked with an X, the treasure should be somewhere in the heart of the island. Emily nodded. "Then that's where we'll go," she said confidently. They packed their things and started walking into the jungle. The path was difficult, with thick vines and bush blocking their way. Every step felt like a struggle, but they pushed on. They knew that if the treasure was real, it wouldn't be easy to find. As they moved deeper into the jungle, they heard strange noises around them. Birds with bright feathers flew overhead, and animals they had never seen before watched them from the shadows. Jack and Emily stayed close together, using sticks to clear the path in front of them. After hours of walking, they came to a large clearing. In the middle stood a massive stone statue of a pirate. The statue had a fierce expression, with one eye covered by a stone eye patch and a large sword in its hand. At its base was an old, moss-covered stone with words carved into it. Emily leaned down to read the words. "Only the brave may enter. Where treasure lies beyond," she read aloud. "Those who seek gold must prove their courage." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you think it means?" he asked. "It means there's more to this than just finding the X on the map," Emily replied. "We have to prove we are brave enough to find the treasure." They looked around the clearing and noticed a narrow path behind the statue, leading further into the jungle. It was dark and covered with thick vines, almost as if it was hiding something. With determination, they stepped onto the path. As they walked, the jungle grew darker and quieter. The air was thick, and it felt like even the trees were watching them. Suddenly, they came to a large river blocking their way. The water was deep and fast, with sharp rocks sticking out like teeth. Jack looked around. "How do we cross?" he wondered. Emily noticed a row of stones that formed a kind of bridge across the river. They were uneven and slippery, and one wrong step could mean falling into the rushing water. "We have to cross using those stones," Emily said. "But we have to be very careful." Jack nodded. "I'll go first," he said bravely. He stepped onto the first stone, testing it to make sure it was steady. It wobbled a little, but he kept his balance. Slowly, he moved to the next stone, then the next. He was halfway across when he looked back at Emily and gave her a thumbs up. Emily followed. Her heart pounded with every step, but she moved carefully, keeping her eyes on the stones and her arms out for balance. Jack reached the other side and turned to help Emily. Just as she was about to step onto the last stone, it slipped under her foot. "Emily!" Jack shouted, reaching out. Emily lost her balance and started to fall. But Jack grabbed her hand just in time and pulled her to safety. They both fell onto the ground, breathing hard and feeling relieved. "That was close," Emily said, her voice shaking. Jack nodded. "Too close," he agreed. They sat for a moment to catch their breath before standing up again. They were wet and tired, but they couldn't turn back now. The treasure was somewhere ahead, and they were determined to find it. They continued on the path, and soon the jungle opened up into a large, hidden valley. In the middle of the valley was an ancient stone temple, half covered in vines and moss. The temple looked old and mysterious, with carvings of pirates, ships, and treasure chests on its walls. Jack and Emily walked up to the entrance. It was dark inside, and they could feel a cool breeze coming from within. Holding the lantern high, they stepped into the temple. Inside, the air was damp and smelled of earth. The walls were lined with more carvings, telling the story of the pirate Captain Redbeard and his adventures. At the end of the long hallway, they found a large door. It was made of stone, and in the middle was a carving of a pirate's skull with two crossed swords. "This must be it," Jack whispered. "The treasure room." Emily looked around. "But how do we open it?" she asked. There was no handle or keyhole, just the carving on the door. Jack studied the door and noticed something strange. The eyes of the skull were hollow, like they were missing something. "Look at this," Jack said, pointing to the eyes. "Maybe we need to find something to put in these holes." They searched the room and found two small, round stones on the floor. They fit perfectly into the hollow eyes of the skull. As they placed the stones into the eyes, the ground beneath them began to shake. The stone door slowly moved aside, revealing a large chamber filled with golden light. Jack and Emily stepped into the chamber, and their eyes widened with amazement. Inside, there were chests overflowing with gold coins, jewels of all colors, silver goblets, and glittering artifacts. It was more treasure than they could ever imagine. "We found it," Jack said in awe. "The pirate's treasure." They walked around the chamber, looking at the treasure. There were swords with jeweled handles, crowns that once belonged to kings, and even a large, golden statue of Captain Redbeard himself. At the feet of the statue was an old, leather-bound book. Jack picked it up and opened it. Inside, he found the journal of Captain Redbeard, telling the tale of his voyages and how he hid his treasure here to keep it safe from other pirates. "We should take some of this treasure back to the village," Jack said, "but not all of it." "This place is a part of history," Emily agreed. "We should take enough to help our families and the village," she said, "but leave the rest here, as it was meant to be." They filled a small bag with gold coins and jewels, enough to change their lives, but not enough to empty the chamber. As they turned to leave, they heard a faint sound behind them. They spun around and saw a shadow moving in the corner of the chamber. "Who's there?" Jack called out. From the shadows stepped an old man with a long, white beard. He was dressed in worn pirate clothes and had an eye patch over one eye. Jack and Emily stepped back, unsure of what to do. "Don't be afraid," the old man said in a raspy voice. "I am the guardian of the treasure. I have watched over this place for many years." "Are you that Captain Redbeard?" Emily asked hesitantly. The old man chuckled. "No, I am not Redbeard. I was his first mate, the one he trusted to guard his treasure after he was gone. You have shown courage and wisdom in finding this place." Jack and Emily nodded, feeling a mixture of awe and respect. They thanked the old man and slowly backed out of the chamber, leaving the treasure behind for future adventurers to find. As they exited the temple, and made their way back through the jungle, they knew that their lives would never be the same. They crossed the river carefully this time and followed the path back to their boat. The sun was setting as they sailed back to the village, the sky painted in hues of orange and pink. Jack and Emily were exhausted, but filled with a sense of pride and accomplishment. They had done what many thought was impossible. They had found the pirates' treasure. When they reached the village, everyone gathered to hear their tale. Jack and Emily told them about the storm, the jungle, the temple, and the treasure. They showed the gold coins and jewels they had brought back, and the villagers cheered with joy. They would use the treasure to help the village and build a better future. Jack's father hugged him tightly. "You have made us proud," he said with tears in his eyes. Emily smiled. "This is just the beginning," she said. "There are many more adventures out there waiting for us." And so, Jack and Emily became known as the bravest adventurers of the village. They continued to explore the seas and discover new places. But they always remembered their first great adventure, the search for the pirates' treasure.